Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce, the post-Christmas edition and early New Year's edition. I'm Gary Graves from Louisville, Kentucky. Back home in Maryland is my good friend, John Webster. How are you doing, my esteemed colleague?
Hey, Gary, a belated Merry Christmas to you, an early Happy New Year to you. I hope you had a great holiday. I hope you didn't eat too much. I know I ate way too much, and I feel really good about it. Really, really good about it.
That's the way it should be, man. You know, enjoy the bounty. How did our man John Pitt, the guy who, gets it done for us? And I hope, John Pitt, I hope you had a great Christmas. I know last night was great for you.
Yeah, that was a great after Christmas present. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you some history here. I looked it up on December 26, 1993. The Dallas Cowboys beat the Washington football team 38-3. That was the biggest margin of points they beat the Washington football team by until yesterday. So that was great. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And John, who was the coach of the Washington team in 1993?
I want to say Gibbs. Is that when Gibbs came back?
No, that might have been, 93.
Gibbs just left right before that.
That might have been, God, who was the guy that took over for him? I keep wanting to say it was Norv Turner, but that might be wrong too.
I think it was Norv Turner because Pettibone came in 92. Because Washington went to the Super Bowl in 91.
Right. And then Gibbs. Gibbs.
It may have been Pettibone. It may have been Pettibone because then Gibbs came back for 92, quit, and Pettibone came in 93, and I guess Norv Turner came in 94.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's right. I forgot all about Richie Pettibone.
Yeah, that was a 4-12 season. Do you know what one of the wins was that year? History of Dallas and Washington. Washington started the season off against the Dallas Cowboys and won 35 to something. I can't remember what the score was. And everybody thought Washington was back on a roll again.
Yeah. I don't know when that team is ever going to get on a roll again. Like last year was just an outlier just because of COVID and the Philadelphia Eagles just laying down in that finale that pushed them in. Thing is, that team actually showed a little hope, showed an upside. And other than say, when they had that little winning streak, when they got to 6-6, there hasn't been much hope with this team. And these last 3 weeks have just been absolutely abysmal. I could have predicted last night's finish. I didn't predict a 49-point gap or whatever at the end. But it's like that team, they can't keep quarterbacks healthy. That defense that we thought was going to be the savior of this team for this year, it was going to be, the basis of that team this year is just absolutely putrid. I can't come up with enough bad adjectives to describe what I saw last night, what I've seen these last few weeks. They just are not good. And you can't even use COVID, all those absences last week as an excuse because again, they got a lead and just absolutely blew it. They were up 10-0 and got outscored 27-7 after that. That shouldn't happen, especially when you got momentum on the road. But last night, after that, I just thought last night it was predictable, and basically I can't believe that they're still in the hunt for a wild card berth with that. But again, looking at the up and down prospects, of course, they're headed downward, and I don't see them, going upward. I'm happy for Dallas because I do think I've always thought that the NFL needs to have its traditional teams act like traditional powers, whether it's Green Bay Packers, at one time the Chicago Bears, one time the New York Giants, Raiders. All of these teams. And it's because teams like Dallas draw eyeballs. Whether you love them or hate them, they draw eyeballs. They give you a rooting interest. They give you a betting interest. John Pitt, that I think that the league needs, and I think everybody wants to see whether they will carry it all the way. I mean, right now, folks just want to see if they can make their first Super Bowl since 1996. I think I covered that game, and I never thought it would be another 25, close to 30 years before they'd see another one. But yeah, again, it's like I think it was really a good thing for the league that Dallas won because it gave a rooting interest. And as much as I like Dak Prescott as a quarterback, I still thought that was the steal, one of the best steals of the NFL draft, that I want to see him succeed, even though he's playing for the Dallas Cowboys, because I think he's a good quarterback. Last night was good in getting him off of whatever slump he was in, whatever slump that offense was in. And let's just see if they can just sustain it. That's the biggest problem with Dallas. You just don't know if they're going to sustain it, John.
Well, Dallas hasn't won anything, Gary. They just beat a Washington team. Great. That's really not proving anything. I agree. When Dallas is relevant, it makes the rest of the league relevant. That is true. But when you look at it, Dallas is still, at best, the third or fourth best option to get to the Super Bowl out the NFC. It still is going to go through Tampa Bay. It's still going to go through Green Bay. And Dallas may not be third because the Rams may get ahead of them. I think, like you said, it's good that they're relevant. They haven't done anything. They beat a terrible Washington football team last night, who is decimated with injuries, decimated with COVID, decimated with personal problems that they have. It's just really a rough situation. And Washington is going to have to look at the end of the season at what they need to do. What do they need to do at quarterback? What do you need to do at the defensive line? You've had the same defensive line for 4 or 5 years, and yet they are not one of the dominant factors. Is it the players? Is it the scheme? Is it the coach? You're going to have to do a lot of figuring out. And, you're saying they're not eliminated yet. I hope they get eliminated very, very soon, because what they don't need to have happen is give fans a false hope, and then the fans of Washington forget about all the problems that they have. There are a lot of things that need to be worked on with the Washington football team to get better. There's some things that are good. Terry McLaurin is a good situation, but what do you have on the other side to make him even better? You don't have anything. Antonio Gibson is great, but what do you have? J.J. McKissick was hurt. It still is hurt. Your tight end, Logan Thomas, that's your best tight end. I mean, Ricky Seals, can't think of the rest of his name, is doing an adequate job, but he's not Logan Thomas, and it goes back to the other glaring situation. Yes, I like Taylor Heineke. Yes, I think he is a gunslinger, but do I think right now he is the answer? No, but I also will say he's not the only problem, Gary. That team has a lot of things they need to do. And now, it's rough. It's rough. Gary, let's take a look at some other teams in the NFL. What do you think about my Patriots going down? They went down to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's starting to turn around. They're playing really, really good football. I'm really concerned with New England. 2 weeks ago when they played the Colts, they couldn't stop the run. Yesterday playing Buffalo, they couldn't stop the pass. So what do you do on defense? And just 20 minutes ago, 2 of their defensive players, Matthew Judon, and I can't think of the other one, just went into
COVID protocols. Yeah, I saw that. The way I look at that, I mean, I think that game, Buffalo definitely needed that kind of win, because after getting beat by New England, not even scoring a touchdown against New England in the previous meeting at home in Buffalo with all the conditions that they should be used to, they needed that one. And to go to New England and win a game like that, I think that's something that could help them in the division. If you're New England, I think you have some soul searching to do, but I'm not ready to really cash in, their chances of winning that division. or getting a playoff berth. You know, the team that we have to watch, the Miami Dolphins in that division.
Yeah, and like we're talking about, New England has to go there the last game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And that's never been a great visit for us to go down in New England. You know, Miami is not very hospitable to the Patriots when it comes to visiting late in the season. That's a rough one right there. I also am really, really concerned about the defense. Josh Allen yesterday, I watched the game. He was doing things that were just totally not in the book of doing correctly as a quarterback. He was running to the right, looking to the right, throwing completely back across the field to his left and getting first downs. And I mean, it was a rough one. They had cut it to 26-21. I thought they'd be able to hold them. They had like a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12, and Josh Allen did one of those things again where he threw across his body. Then they had a 4th and 1, and I thought they were going to have them. Josh Allen did a quarterback rollout, a bootleg, got the first down. I don't want to sit and complain and say the defensive end was helped. I won't say that. He was helped, but we're not going to put it on that because that's just one play. They should have stopped them earlier in the game, and they could not. And that's really concerning for me because this AFC is starting to look very tough, Gary Graves, looking very tough. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, Joe Burrow threw for 525 yards yesterday. 525. And what did Pitt say? He's thrown for like 900 yards against the Ravens this year, 800, 900 yards against the Ravens.
Yeah. Ravens, I'm going to say it right now, Ravens are done. And I mean, part of that is their own fault because of that defense. And I'm going to say the big part of that was John Harbaugh's decisions to go for 2 points instead of kicking extra points that could have given them a chance in overtime. And for all the, aggressive, accolades that he got for that when you have a chance to provide an extra lifeline for your team in overtime. I mean, there's no guarantee that they would have won in overtime, but at least give your team a chance. And I think like I say, those decisions cost them 2 games, possibly three games that could have won that division for them. Instead, I think they're going to be on the outside looking in a couple of weeks.
I thought even before the season, I thought Harbaugh, if he could get 9 wins out of this team, because you remember in the preseason, Gary, they were dropping like flies then. Everybody was getting hurt. And it has continued in the regular season. They're still getting hurt. Now their best player, Lamar Jackson, is hurt and out. They thought they were going to have Hundley play this past Sunday. Guess what? He comes down with COVID. He can't play. So then you go get Josh Johnson, who's played for 25 million teams, 3,000 different leagues, and you put him out there to play. And he did as much as he could, but you bring up a interesting topic. They went for 2. They went for 2 against Pittsburgh, lost. They went for 2 against Green Bay, lost. I could see the 2 going against Pittsburgh. They were out of defensive backs. They were out of gas. He wanted to get out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. You're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, I didn't have a problem with that one as much as against Green Bay. The
Green Bay game, yeah, because the last couple drives before they got to that, Aaron Rodgers had not been really doing anything and not been a factor. The Hundley guy for the Ravens had started turning up and was really doing well, had gotten hot. And I think I would have kicked the extra point. You have one of the shortest kickers in the league. Do that, and then I'm going to go in overtime because I'm at home now. Since I'm at home, I'm going to get the fans behind me, and I'm going to try to, at best, Rodgers is going to get 3 points. Okay, if he gets 3, I really think I can get 3 to match, and then we go from there. Because keep in mind, again, you got the best kicker. Anything inside the 45-yard line, he is dangerous. He can kick automatic. So I would have played for overtime in that game against Green Bay. And now they have the LA Rams coming to town this week, another hot team. And it's like you said, Gary, it's unfortunate. I really like Harbaugh. I really want him to do well and the Ravens to do well, but they're decimated. I mean, kind of like the Washington team. Well, there's nothing like the Washington team, but but they got a lot of injuries. They're really beat up, and I mean, it's just it's rough. It's rough.
Well, without getting too much deeper in the NFL, let's move on to NBA, because this weekend was also kind of revealing in terms of the power balance. Golden State comes away with an impressive win on Christmas Day. We find out that the Brooklyn Nets we find out that the Brooklyn Nets are getting Kyrie Irving back for road games, which, of course, for a first place team in the East, that can only help them. I mean, again, it's kind of limiting because you come back to New York, you can't play because of COVID regulations and protocols there. I don't want to get into the whole deep thing about guys being vaccinated because, we don't have that much time to talk about it. But I think the thing that really impressed me about Golden State is that they pretty much look like the Golden State of maybe 4 or 5 years ago when they were the dominant team. Remember, they haven't even gotten Klay Thompson back in any real capacity yet. He's rehabbing, but they look a lot like those teams in terms of how they can score, how they can shut teams down on defense. Basically, I think they've reinvented themselves to be the same kind of powerful team in the West. And, part of that is at the Lakers' expense. We'll get into that in a minute. But, John, I want to get your opinion, what you think about what Golden State did and what Brooklyn gets now in being a little bit more whole with Kyrie Irving.
Well, let's talk about Brooklyn first. Brooklyn gets Kyrie Irving back for road games, supposedly. We'll see what's going to happen. Keep in mind, Gary, you're taking a guy who still has some
issues.
Yeah. Concerns, challenges. That's the word I like to use. He still has some challenges that he is going through. Also, how will he be received in the locker room? I don't know. How will some people feel about it? I don't know. Also, keep in mind, they have a few people and a few players in COVID protocol. That's going to affect them some. And, what I've always said it, and we said on the show, Gary, Kyrie Irving, if he doesn't want to take a vaccination, that's up to him. That's his right. That's up to him. Agree or disagree, it's up to him. But my question becomes, when he comes back and he's playing some of these games, will he be connected enough to make it through, or will there become other issues that he will become involved in, which could lead him to deciding he may not want to play? Yeah. So what do you do? But going to Golden State, now that's an interesting situation there. That's a real interesting situation because they had a great game. It was a great game Christmas Day with them and Phoenix. I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And they went back and forth, and Phoenix is a dangerous team. And even though Golden State won, if anybody thinks that Phoenix is not to be reckoned with, they need to really think about it. And also, there's another team. Everybody keeps talking about Phoenix and Golden State. Do not forget about the Utah Jazz. They can cause people problems as well. Now, my thoughts on Golden State. They were missing players the other day, 2 or 3 players. They got good bench time from Otto Porter. He played really well. Steph Curry did his normal thing and put up 30 points, played really well. But I got an interesting thought pattern here, Gary. When Klay Thompson comes back, you're bringing Klay Thompson back, and everybody says they're going to become even better because they got Klay Thompson back. Keep in mind, Klay Thompson in one leg tore ACL, and the other leg he tore his Achilles heel. So that's difficult to come back from. He is used to being a runner and being a very aggressive player and shooter. It's going to, and you got two legs. Both of them had major injuries. And I think with Klay Thompson, when he comes back, he'll probably be 85 or 90% of what he used to be. That's my opinion. He's going to be 100% healthy, but he's going to be 85 to 90% of what he used to be. My point is 85 to 90% Klay Thompson is still better than half of the league's players at 100%. I think that is really, really good. Now, other thing, when Klay Thompson comes back, I would not, let me say this again, I would not, one more time, I would not start him.
Oh, no.
I would bring him off the bench. I know there are a lot of people that disagree with that, and they think it puts more pressure on him. My thought is, if you start him, all of a sudden now you're going to have to get Wiggins to rethink what he's going to do and not do. You got Wiggins in a comfort situation. It's not going to affect Draymond Green with Klay Thompson starting. It's not going to affect Steph Curry, but it's going to affect the other three players who do start. Wiggins, Looney, and I can't think of the other person it is. I think if you keep your starting five the way you have it, and you bring Klay Thompson off the bench, and you have him coming off the bench, and you also have Wiseman's coming back. Maybe he's coming off the bench. You have Toscano. Yeah, you got Jordan Poole. I mean, it's a strong bench. And the thing is, I think with Wiseman, where it's going to help with having him is Phoenix has a very good big man in DeAndre Ayton, who also just went in the COVID protocol today. So the one thing that Golden State doesn't have is an abundance of big guys. They were able to work it out the other day on Christmas Day when they played Phoenix. But that's going to be important. If you have somebody like Wiseman and finally have Wiseman healthy and ready to go, he can do wonders. I don't need Wiseman to score a bunch of points. I need Wiseman to clear those boards, be a rim protector, and get out on the break. That's what I need. I don't need any scores because I got Klay Thompson. And matter of fact, now I have the incomparable Otto Porter Jr., who just puts up all sorts of points now. He was shooting shots. I hadn't seen him make shots like that since Georgetown. And he did really well. Now, with that being said, still watch out for Utah. Watch out for Utah. They're going to be dangerous. The Mitchell kid is really tough. They got Joe Ingles. They got Rudy Gobert. That's a really dangerous team. Now, this purple and gold team called the Los Angeles Lakers, well, they're looking like they're going to be in a playing game again, Gary. It looks like they're going to get an 8th or 9th or maybe a 10th spot. Everybody is hard on Russell Westbrook. It's Russell Westbrook's fault. It's his fault. He's too out of control. He's too this or he's too that. You know, I'm going to tell you something. I'll take Russell Westbrook any day of the week because he's going to give me 100% effort. Does he struggle with some aspects? Yes. But the struggle is not from a lack of effort, in my opinion, because the guy gives it all he has every night. You know, I think the Lakers, their problem is going to be keeping Anthony Davis healthy, which is not just here. It's always been through his career that he's going to get hurt. So what do you do? And plus, this is a guy that's come back from a knee injury. 4 weeks that he's out. But how do we know how he's going to respond, Gary? What do we know? And another thing with Anthony Davis always wants to be out where? On the wing. He doesn't want to be in the paint. And that makes it hard, you know. So you got to look at that as well. Backing on up to the East one more time, and the Milwaukee Bucks pulled out a big win over the Boston Celtics. Boston was winning the whole game. They were up by 19. They were up by 14. They were up by 12 and lose by 6. And they're going to struggle. Matter of fact, Jason Tatum today, guess what, Gary? COVID protocols. So, you know, and it's hard to see. It's hard to say, and it's hard to see who's going to be what and where it's going to fall, because as long as this COVID thing is around, that can dictate the pace and who is going to be where, because it can sit you down real quick and it can change the complexion of a game very, very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. John, I don't know what more I can really add to that. The only thing I can say about the Lakers is no matter how it shakes out, again, all of those injuries, I really do think the X factor at this point for LA is whether Anthony Davis can just stay upright for more than 3 or 4 games at a time. I mean, and I'm talking about that from the standpoint of whether they even make the playoffs, whether they're in that playing field. What nobody really wants to say about LA is that is just an old team. They traded half their rosters to become older. And that's one thing I don't understand. Yeah, I know you want to try to create, Showtime part 2, part 3 or whatever, but you're looking at at least 5 players on that roster that are over 30. You're talking about, I say, even with Anthony Davis, who's approaching 30, but can't stay healthy. I don't want to say he's undependable or unreliable or anything else like that, but you just don't know what you're going to get from him, whether he's going to be on the floor for you from night to night, and you can't have that. Again, I'm not a Lakers fan, but I understand how Lakers fans, the Laker Nation has high expectations. But let's be realistic here. That's an old team trying to compete against a bunch of young guns in their own division, let alone that conference. Like you said about Utah, I think Utah and Phoenix are the 2 most dangerous teams right now because nobody expected Phoenix to repeat what they did last year. They've shown that that's no fluke, especially after that start. Utah is a team that is right there. They're only 3.5 games, out of the Western Conference lead, and they haven't even played what I consider their best basketball, even with all the protocol, COVID protocol issues that they've had. If they can stay healthy there, and like you said, that's going to be probably the biggest determining factor for any team going forward, just because of how this variant can affect even vaccinated players. But in terms of the Lakers, it's like, let's be realistic. I don't think nobody should be surprised if they don't even make it into a play-in game, because you're asking a lot from a very old roster. I don't think Frank Vogel forgot how to coach, but everybody wants to put it on him. Blame goes to the top. Credit and blame goes to the top of people who create these rosters, and I think that they went for the fantasy league, Showtime value, as opposed to a team that's sustainable through 82 games and then maybe another 30 games in the postseason.
Well, I'll say this, Gary. One, I called it wrong. I thought this team would do well in the regular season. I thought they would fold in the playoffs because of their age. I didn't think their age would catch up with them now, which it has. I mean, they're the geriatric kids, and they the only one that's what's the guy's name? Carmelo Anthony. He's playing well, but he's playing well on the role that you thought he would be, which is come off the bench, and I think that's really great. But Dwight Howard, Westbrook, Rondo, they got some age to them. They got some age. And this is the thing I'll say also, Gary. You say you don't blame Frank Vogel. I get that. And you said it goes
not totally because he's put some puzzling lineups on the floor. He's had some puzzling strategy in several of these games lately. But again, the blame falls sometimes unfairly on the coach. But again, it's like you can only do with what you got.
Yeah, and what my point is, it goes to the other GM, not the one upstairs, but the GM that's on the court named LeBron James. Mm-hmm. This is the reason they have all these players. He wanted them. He wanted Kuzma out of there. He wanted Caldwell Pope out of there. And he wanted Montrezl Harrell out of there as well. And, okay, you get it. That's fine. That's LeBron James. You're able to be an architect and put a team together that you want. He has it, and right now it's not working well for them. They may turn around. What Westbrook has done the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's played very well in the second half of the season. And I think I think the first half of the season, it takes some time to get used to his players, his teammates. I expect him to turn into that triple-double machine that he's always been. I think, he'll do it, but will they have enough to get to the playoffs? My answer is yes. But I think they'll be in the play-in game again, and they're not going to go very far. That's my thought about them. And it's going to come down to, in that West, Golden State, Phoenix, and Utah.
Yep. Well, John, speaking of playoffs, we have a college football playoff games coming up this weekend. Alabama versus Cincinnati, Georgia versus Michigan. I guess before we get into predictions, I guess with a month now to prepare for this, how do you see some of these teams, kind of adjusting to this? I think Cincinnati obviously has the most to prove as a group of 5 team that got in there, that finally broke through, but they face a huge hurdle in trying to topple Alabama, especially an Alabama team that's had 3 weeks to prepare, even with some players and coaches in COVID protocols. That is still Alabama at the end of the day. And I just don't know what it's going to take for Cincinnati to win that game, other than Alabama imploding, which I don't see.
Well, I don't see a Nick Saban team imploding either, Gary. I think it's going to take a lot of great plays by Cincinnati. You know what this game reminds me of, Gary? Let's go back a few years. Matter of fact, it's probably about 10 or 12 years ago. This game reminds me of Boise State, Oklahoma.
I knew you were in Oklahoma. Yeah.
And guess what Boise State did that night? They emptied the entire playbook, 2-point conversions, hook and laterals, everything. Cincinnati's going to have to do the same thing. If you line them up, mano a mano, I think Alabama has them. But if you put a couple of other off-balance plays in there to get what you need, they'll have a chance. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. I mean, Alabama's they're Alabama, Gary. I mean, I was watching a piece the other day, SEC, 150 years. And, man, the one constant, whether it's Nick Saban, whether it's Bear Bryant, whether it's Gene Stallings, is always pounded, grounded football, and they were always tough. And that's what they're going to be. This was a Friday or Saturday night. They're going. What Alabama's going to do. They're not going to do anything that you haven't seen before. But can you stop it? Can you stop it? And I think what Cincinnati's got to realize on defense, they're not going to be able to stop them and hold them to 10 points or 14 points. No. I think Cincinnati, to have a chance to win, has to score at least 27 points. Now, can they score 27 points on Alabama's defense? I don't know, Gary. I don't know. But I know I'm asking a lot. I see your face. But they're not going to win a slobber knocker 9-6 game like Alabama did against LSU for the national championship a few years back. They got to put at least 27 points up on that board.
Yeah. And I feel like they're going to be hard pressed. And of course, I got a lot of family that went to UC. I know they're loving this. But they're going to be hard pressed to score 10 points against Alabama. When you think about it, Alabama's only loss was in the last seconds on a last second field goal against Texas A&M. That's their only loss. So they come back. I mean, they just absolutely throttle Georgia. I don't give Georgia much chance against Michigan because I think this is a completely different Michigan team. Michigan right now is like Ohio State in maize and blue. That I know you love that because you love Mr. Coach Khaki. But
that's my man.
I mean, the challenge for Cincinnati is to really slow down that Alabama train, and if Georgia couldn't do it, and Georgia was considered the best defense in the country going into that game, that I don't see Cincinnati doing it. I don't see them scoring many points either. I mean, they, like you said, they're going to have to empty the playbook. And again, you're still talking about going against an Alabama team that's probably going to have at least another 8, 9, 10 first round NFL draft picks next spring. That's a lot to ask for. I think what you're looking at is, well, I'm going to say it right now. I think you're looking at an Alabama-Michigan title game in mid-January.
Well, like I said, you said 10 points. If they only score 10 points, Gary, it's over. The party's over. You turn out the lights and just go on home. They got to score more than 10
points. They'll score 10 points when this game is probably out of reach. That's how tough Alabama's defense is.
Well, then that's going to be a long, long night. But on the other side, you spoke of my man, Coach Khaki, and the Wolverines, the Maize and Blue. They're on their way. The Victors Valiant. They're coming down to Florida, and they're ready to play the Georgia Bulldogs. I am so excited. I'm trying to figure out right now, do I wear blue khakis or do I wear the tan khakis? Which do I wear for that game on Friday night? I mean, I am so excited. I'm just, oh, my God. Coach Khaki has got a chance to get to the championship game. Oh, man, can you imagine the talk at the Harbaugh table? If they get to the championship, John Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl. Coach Khaki may get a championship. That's a great dinner. That's a great dinner theater right there, Gary. That's beautiful. Yeah. Now, with them playing Georgia, and I think you already know where I'm going. I'm with Michigan. I want Michigan to win. I think this is the case with Georgia. Georgia got punched in the face by Alabama a couple weeks back in December at the SEC championship. They were punched in the face and they were shown that they're bullies. Now, can they get up off the ground and show they can be punching people back? The same thing that was given to them by Alabama, Michigan's going to give them the same thing. They're going to punch them in the mouth. It's not going to be emptying the playbook and do a lot of fancy stuff. It's mano a mano. They're going to go straight at them. I don't think Georgia can stop them. That's my personal opinion. Georgia's defense was something that everybody was talking about throughout the season. Alabama showed there's holes in Georgia's defense. And also, when you have a defense that is as good as Georgia, as tough as Georgia, and as fast as Georgia, fastness sometimes leads to recklessness, Gary. That means you're going to shoot your spot on the line. You're going to shoot your hole where you should be. And that means it's going to be an opening. And I think Coach Khaki and the Michigan Wolverines are going to exploit that. I think they're going to take advantage of Georgia's quickness. I think they're going to take advantage of Georgia's recklessness. I mean, they're reckless and they're really good, but I think Michigan gets them, which leads us back to what you just said. Alabama, Michigan for the national championship. Do we call it today, Gary? Or do
let's save that one for another time, because whatever happens January 10th or 11th, I think it's predicated on what happens New Year's Eve. And again, it could be predictable, but yeah, let's wait till then, because what's that saying in show business? You got to leave them wanting more.
Well, we can leave more and more on that, but let's talk about two things. One thing that I know you forgot, and it was just something you forgot. It wasn't done intentionally. I know it, Gary, but you didn't mention the team in South Bend. You didn't mention the team in South Bend, the team that's they're also part of the bowl situation here. They're going to be playing in the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma State. I know you forgot it, and it was an honest mistake, Mr. Graves, but They're part of the bowl scenario. It'll be the first game for Coach Freeman as the head coach of Notre Dame, and it's going to be exciting. We'll see if Tommy Rees has a new offense. Now, you got to be careful how much you talk. Tommy Rees basically has been insinuating that the offense will be different since Coach Kelly is gone. We'll see. Don't talk it, just play it. So we'll see how that works out. And Gary, I know you're excited about that. Matter of fact, that elf hat you had on is a kind of a Notre Dame green. So thank you very much for thinking about Notre Dame and realizing South Bend is one of the more important and pertinent places in college sports.
Though not as important as Tuscaloosa, Ann Arbor, Cincinnati, and Athens, Georgia. I mean, that's those are the cities people will be paying attention to, teams from there. But no, in all seriousness, John, I mean, that's going to be an interesting game because, I mean, you debut in a bowl game, you have a chance to claim a top 10 finish, and you basically get a chance to show your potential for Notre Dame next year, and that's the thing. I think that's the thing that makes that game compelling.
You know what? You know what I'm going to say? You're not going to believe the next thing I'm going to say, and I honestly mean this. I'm more happy that they're playing in the Fiesta Bowl and debuting it, Coach Freeman in that than they're playing in the college football playoff. I like that a lot.
That game can be very, very entertaining. You know, the Fiesta Bowl, you're talking about emptying the playbook. That's one of those no holds barred games that again, when there's no national title implications in that game, just go for it. That's the fun. That'll be the fun part.
Yeah. Now, the sad thing with these bowls, Gary, the real sad thing is we're losing a lot of these bowls because of COVID. We lost the Fenway Park Bowl. We lost the Military, which is supposed to be here in Maryland today. Mm-hmm. You had there was another team that backed out. Boise State just backed out of their bowl game today. Yeah. Miami's going to back out of theirs. I think they're in the Sun Bowl. This thing is really it's rough with the COVID. Matter of fact, one thing I'm surprised with, because as you said earlier, and I agree with it, you don't want COVID to have an impact on the game with players who can play or not play. I was surprised that the college football playoff, they aren't looking to put these kids in a bubble. Maybe I'm looking at it too protective, but the last thing you want, in my opinion, is the game being ready to be played and Bryce Young can't play because he has COVID. You know, you or the best player on Cincinnati, the best player on any of these teams, the quarterback of Georgia, you don't want that. And you look at the Miami. I'm sorry, not the Miami. It's played in Miami, but it's the Georgia-Michigan game is being played in Miami.
Yeah, the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, and Florida is a spot that has its challenges right now with this pandemic. And you have to do all you can to keep your kids in an environment away from things that can cause a problem. And that's why I say I wish that they had put them in a bubble.
Yeah, in a safe environment. John, I couldn't say it better than that. And I hope that as we wrap up here, that we can see as many bowl games as possible this weekend. I hope we could see as many college basketball games, men and women, because those are games that are falling by the wayside too. As we wrap up, first of all, let's just hope and pray that everybody is healthy and safe in sports. I hope that everybody watching this is healthy and safe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, anybody, somebody you meet on the street, shake a hand and tell them about the Daily Deuce, because we have fun here. We can delve deep into subjects, but we talk about things like you talk about them at the dinner table. And this has been a great year for us to really get this thing started. John, I'm thankful for you, and your vision on this. I'm thankful for John Pitt for being a traffic cop and making it happen. And let's just keep ourselves safe to make sure that we can come back again next week and beyond that.
Well, Gary, you said it very well. I'm very thankful for my family. I'm very thankful for my Daily Deuce family, being you and John Pitt. Thankful that you all gave the Daily Deuce an opportunity and a chance. And I'm thankful that you all are a part of it. And make sure that this bald-headed, ugly, grumpy old man stays on the right path during the show. So I'm greatly appreciative to both of you and love y'all just like your family, because you are my family. And like Gary said, you all listen to the Daily Deuce. If you have friends, please share it with them. Please tell everybody about it. Let everybody know it's a sports talk show. We're talking about nothing but sports and having a great time. We keep it light. We keep it fun. And going into the year, what year are we going into, Gary? 2022? Going into 2022. We're going to keep it light, and it's going to be more sports that we're going to talk about each and every day. And John Pitt, thank you for all that you do.